Okay, let's open up a new document in InDesign. We're going to start with 8.5 by 11 and just keep our margins, and we're going to pull bleed here, and this is a way that you can set it up at the beginning of the document. An 1/8 of an inch bleed is plenty on each side. Make sure you click the right constrain proportions button and it'll fill it all in for you. And let's go ahead and hit OK. Now you can see when we plugged in the bleed settings at the beginning, it gives us an actual guide for that. The red line is your bleed margin, the black line is the actual page margin, and the pink line is your document margin. I'm just going to make a small box here just so we can have a brief example of how and where you need to make sure your bleed is coming off the page. And to keep it clean, I like to just line everything up with that bleed setting, and always remember that that's going to cut off between that black page margin and the red bleed margin. All of that will be cut off, so it's very important to remember when designing, especially with the photo. If there's a certain part that you don't want to be cut off, you need to make sure that's within the page margin. So I've pulled two boxes out, and that is what bleed is called. And if you hit the W button on a Mac, it will cut that off, so you can kind of preview what your finished product will look like after it's cut down. And something very important to remember is when you're typing, setting text, any type of headers, anything like that, you want to make sure you've got about 1/4 of an inch cushion from the edge of your page. And why I say that is because once it's cut down, it may not look like that on the screen, but once it's cut down, it looks really tacky when your text is right next to the edge of the paper. Unless it's meant to be that way, if it's some type of stylized text or whatever, that's okay, but I recommend 1/4 of an inch all the way around, just to give your text some breathing room in your document. And again, you can hit the W button and kind of preview what your document is going to look like after it's been cut down. Now we're going to go ahead and make a PDF out of this, because that's how we prefer to send our files. And I'm just going to save it out. File, export, PDF. And now you've got a separate dialog box that pops up here. And the most important thing a lot of people forget to do is go to the marks and bleeds settings within the PDF document and make sure that you have crop marks and make sure that your bleeds are put in there properly. If you set up the bleeds at the beginning of the document, just like we did, you can check use bleed document settings, and that will automatically plug them in there and you don't have to worry about it. Common mistake is people will say, hey, I pull bleed, but they forget this very important step of actually following through with it when they make the PDF, and so it doesn't transfer over. Once we get it, it's not correct. So here's my PDF, and you can see it kept the bleed. I've got my crop marks. I can pull my guide, and I can see where the bleed's going to be and where we need to cut it. And this is a good PDF, a print-ready PDF. And that is how you pull bleed in InDesign.